advocate, like as an
Mm.
advocate for these refugees. So I guess I guess there's different levels of advocacy, right?
Sure.
And I guess the stronger of an advocate you are, you get better results. Like as you try to support their causes. Like, can you talk a little bit about your advocacy for the
Yeah.
rights of immigrants?
Yeah. So, I would say that being an advocate, or the best way to be an advocate, this is how I would sort of frame it, is to take what you do well
Mm-hmm.
and make it work for whoever you want to advocate for. So, for example, Emily Arnold Fernandez, who is the founder of Asylum Access, she's a lawyer,
Mm-hmm.
and she started out in refugee work at a refugee camp, I believe in Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
And she, I think she was a law student at that time, or maybe she was a recent graduate, and she had gone to Egypt to do this project uh, in legal rights of refugees. And she just realized how vulnerable people are when they don't have the right to work, when they don't have the right to send their kids to school, when they don't have the right to access housing,
Mm-hmm.
access medical care because of their immigration or refugee status. And that experience was the eye opener for her, and she decided that she was going to use her legal knowledge to create an organization that advocates for those rights.
I see.
And so, depending on the different legal contexts around the world, pushing for refugees to be able to not only have the right on paper to be able to work, but have it actually be accessible in reality.
Right.
She's a lawyer, though, right? And so she knows how to advocate for people's legal rights because
Mm-hmm.
that's what many lawyers do and know how to do. I am not a lawyer. So me going in and trying to defend people's rights in front of a government would go very poorly. I would be bad at it because I don't know how to do it, right? What I know how to do is strategize and write and tell
Mm-hmm.
stories.
Right.
And so, how can I make that work for refugees? Well, I can work for an organization like Asylum Access that makes refugee rights a reality, and I can contribute to their social media strategy and their email campaigns, and I can help them get more donations, and I can help them communicate with refugees in the global south. I can do all of those things because I know how. I'm a communicator. I know how to communicate and how to reach different audiences with the right message at the right time.
Right.
And so that's how I would frame it. I think that's the best way to be an advocate. Find something that you know you're good at. Find a skill that you know you're good at, like app development, Sanjay. And maybe you could create an app that helps people become more compassionate and empathetic in the world.
Yeah.
Hey, what an idea.
Yeah, no, exactly. I actually love that. I think it's, like to your point, use it's not always giving money, time, whatever, right? It's trying to use what you're really good at and
Mm-hmm.
trying to amplify that, because that's when you can really be a force multiplier as opposed to
Exactly.
trying to do something. I think that's great. So I think maybe that's a I'm just thinking about, looks like your life and the events are all you know really like threaded around giving, right, in some way, shape, or
Mm.
form. Like you started off as young girl in school, and you go through these experiences with your family, and then visiting places like Sierra Leone and other places, and then in Ecuador as well, like just being part of just sort of giving your time to help those in need, and and then now and then be Centrico and Centrico Digital. So I think it's a great time to talk about how, like, these experiences that you had led you to it's almost like these giving opportunities are just like attracted towards you. They're coming to you, right? So can you talk about Centrico Digital itself? Like, how did you, I guess, join Centrico Digital and the your and be Centrico? So that way we can maybe start digging a little bit into how um, how we can learn from your experience there, and share some tricks around how other folks looking to do something similar can can learn through your experience.
Sure. I started at Centrico Digital after I left Asylum Access, mainly because I was really attracted to the company culture and their commitment to becoming a B corporation.
I see.
So, B corporations are companies that meet the highest standards in sustainability, social impact, and transparency and governance. And I was intrigued by that. And my boss, who at Centrico Digital, Matthew Carpenter
Mhm.
Arevalo, he really wanted us to become a B corporation. And he wanted me to lead that process because I had experience in social impact and in that sector, in the social sector. To be totally honest, working for a nonprofit does not really prepare you to do B Corp certification.
I see. Okay.
But I did have the, I think having a background in human rights, which is what
Yeah.
one of the many things that I learned at Asylum Access, really did help frame the B Corporation certification and so that I could understand it maybe a little bit quicker, maybe a little bit faster. So I started out as a strategist at Centrico Digital. I was working on client work, many different clients, some nonprofits, some other social businesses, but mainly pretty traditional businesses that didn't have impact, really wasn't at the forefront of what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I learned a ton from being a strategist on those accounts
I see.
because honestly, marketing for a nonprofit or marketing for a social business is not a whole lot different than marketing for a traditional business. Marketing for business, traditional business, and marketing for nonprofits and social business is really not all
Okay.
that much different because at the end of the day, you have an audience or many audiences, you have an action or many actions that you want that
Mhm.
audience to take, and you have to find a way to convince them to take that action. Now, the
Right.
words that you use and the ways that you convince those people are going to differ, but that's going to differ across industries, not just between the social sector and the traditional business sector, but between construction and the dental industry, right? Those messages are going to be different regardless of the company. And each individual company is also going to have the way that they want to
Yeah.
communicate their message. So I learned a lot from working with those more traditional
Mhm.
companies at Centrico Digital and really grateful for that experience. And it took us about a year to get B Corp certification
Oh, okay.
because I was a strategist at the company. And so I still had all of the client work to do, plus doing the B Corp certification. So we
So is
really,
that a lot more work? We've
you
been
know,
thinking about B Corp for Easy Donate as well, but
sure. For a small company, it's really not a whole lot of work. I think because I've already done it once, well, I've done it a couple of times because you have to provide a report every year once you're a benefit corporation. But doing the actual certification, it's really not so difficult. I mean, there are standards that you have to meet.
right.
And really, the thing that took us the most time was not the certification itself, it was setting up the documentation and legal framework for us to be a benefit corporation. And so
I
that's
see.
really what took time. If you're already a benefit corporation, you already have a board of directors, if you
Right.
already have policies documented and in place for employee benefits and things like that, then it's not going to take long.
I see.
But we were already maybe a B Corp at heart, but we really didn't
Mhm.
have it documented. And so we had to document all of those things first. And then once we became a benefit corporation and a B Corp, registered B Corp, we thought, Well, B Corps and NGOs need marketing too. Why don't we
Mhm.
create a department that
I see.
specifically caters to those companies and organizations? And we already had some companies and organizations in that field. We worked with Flint Pro, which is this awesome tech company. They're an application that helps to measure changes in greenhouse gas emissions from changes
Wow.
in land use.
Mm-hmm.
So, deforestation or reforestation, just changes in the natural environment that affect greenhouse gas emissions. They do incredible work. We had already worked with World Vision Ecuador, which is a organization in Ecuador and around the world to combat poverty and to advocate for the rights of children. And so we had already done some of that work and been excited by that work and wanted to do more of it. And so we created Centrico
Mm-hmm.
as our department
I see.
to specifically cater to purpose driven companies.
Oh, I never knew the B was for B Corp. Okay, now I get it.
Yeah, yeah, B or benefit or plan
Okay,
B, who knows?
I
But
see. This
yeah,
was
B
created
Centrico
just,
was sort of our play on our own name.
I see. And it was just to work with the socially conscious, purpose-driven companies.
Yeah, and
I
some
see.
nonprofits as well,
Okay,
but really just trying to contribute and help scale those efforts that are making our
I see.
world a more just and sustainable place.
And